A major cash reward in an attempt to uncover the person behind a van displaying Islamophobic messages in downtown Toronto. Good afternoon. A Toronto businessman has offered a $25,000 reward to get to the bottom of who was behind a cube van displaying an anti-Muslim messaging that was driving around downtown.
This, as police say, the hate crime unit is investigating. CTV's John Woodward joins us live with more on this. John.
Nathan, we're at the location where the video of that cube van was shot. It's here, South Bend on University Avenue, right next to Ontario's legislature. This van appears to be driving on University Avenue in Toronto. The video asking, is this Yemen? Is this Syria? Is this Iraq? And displaying images of Muslims in prayer, followed by the words, "Wake up, Canada, you are under siege."
What this van was advertising, trying to suggest that Canadian Muslims and communal prayer are something that is threatening, that is dangerous, that is something to hate.
The message received clearly goes beyond free speech, said the federal government's special representative on combating Islamophobia. Toronto businessman Mohammed Faki, in a social media post, called the truck's message a clear incitement of hate, offering a reward of up to $25,000 for information that leads to the arrest of anyone connected with it. Saying he felt he had to stand up, writing, "Our politicians and police leaders have demonstrated a complete disregard for the incitement of hate towards our community."
This is unacceptable.
Faki made news last year as he promised to donate $20,000 to house refugees on the streets of Toronto. In a social media post, Toronto police say their hate crime unit is investigating, saying, "We recognize the community's concern about a truck displaying Islamophobic messaging in Toronto." The truck comes at a time when hate crimes against many groups, including Toronto's Jewish community, are up.
We've seen a 500% increase in both Islamophobic and anti-Semitic narratives online, for example. So we know that there are those bad actors as well as those who are just simply engaged in very ignorant and racist kinds of narratives.
Police asking anyone with information about this truck or video and pictures of it to come forward as well. It's not clear whether the truck was driving around the legislature or merely by the legislature, but that building is the seat of Ontario's government, which gives you an idea of who the cube van's intended audience may have been. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Multiple rounds of thunderstorms hit the GTA last night and into the early morning hours, leaving their mark in some areas. This was the scene around 10 p.m. on Fred Varley Drive in Markham. Multiple trees were knocked down. One damaged a vehicle. There was also damage to street signs and fences, plus power outages in the area. City crews, firefighters, and hydro workers have continued their work to clean up.
And power has been restored to hydro customers near Eglinton and Caledonia Road in the Rosedale area after the weather prompted thousands to lose power overnight.
Still ahead, a strike at WestJet has been averted for now as the union representing mechanic workers agreed to return to talks. We'll have the details a little later in the newscast.
And we do have more news in a moment, but first a look outside. Cooler bite of the water, but the heat wave continues, and there's also that risk of thunderstorms later this afternoon on this, the longest day of the year when it comes to sunlight. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, it's another hot one, really no surprise there. And as we step in towards our day today, we are feeling the effects of this multi-day heat event almost more so. We're not looking at a ton in the way of active weather right now, but as we see all that daytime heating continue to bubble up, the likelihood of afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms once again, a pretty real possibility still under a heat warning. But we are seeing some of them drop. Parry Sound no longer in one, and we're slowly kind of gravitating towards more, I don't want to say seasonal weather because we still stay above seasonal tomorrow, but we drop out of heat warning criteria. Wind direction also playing a big role, still southwesterly, and it's going to stay like that as we step in towards the end of our day today. It is 29 right now, it feels like 37, and we are only getting hotter as we head in towards the afternoon. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast. Right now, it's back to Michelle and Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Lawyers for a pro-Palestinian protest encampment at the University of Toronto are set to present their case today as the university seeks an injunction to clear the weeks-long demonstration. Yesterday, lawyers for the university argued the protesters have seized control of private property and are restricting the community's access to the area known as King's College Circle. The encampment has been in place since May 2nd. Protesters are demanding the school divest from companies profiting from Israel's offensive live in Gaza. The university has argued in court filings there have been numerous reports about harassment and hate speech in the encampment. Demonstrators deny those claims.
Meantime, last night, U of T released a statement which reads, "We are seeking to preserve the right to debate, disagree, and protest for all community members. If we are awarded an injunction, the encampment would be required by law to be dismantled within a set period of time. Encampment participants, along with all U of T community members, would be free to exercise their rights of free speech, protest, and continue advocating for their cause without erecting structures or occupying property overnight."
The Toronto District School Board has accepted a staff report setting the stage for changes in its combating hate and racism strategy. The updated policy, specifically includes the term anti-Palestinian racism. The staff report said it was acting in response to student community voices calling for that change. But members of the Jewish community have raised concerns about the switch as TDSB trustees voted on adopting the policy. Some members said it was concerning to see it adopted in a way they felt didn't acknowledge an increase in anti-Semitic incidents since October 7th.
Many of the interpretations I have read about anti-Palestinian racism is that you can't support Israel without being anti-Palestinian. This is something I reject. One may have a pro-Israel sentiment, one may have a pro-Palestinian sentiment. I want to make it clear that the recent survey data indicates that 91% of Canadian Jews support the state of Israel.
The use of the term anti-Palestinian racism was an effort to create space for Palestinian students to feel safe and express who they are without diminishing any other student's experience or identity.
In the end, the report was accepted along with an amendment saying staff should incorporate into their work concerns raised by the Jewish community about the significant rise in anti-Semitism.
One person is in hospital following a shooting in New York last night. It happened near Trethewey Drive and Eglinton near Coronation Park, just after 6:30 p.m. Police found a man suffering from a gunshot wound to his leg. He was taken to hospital in serious condition. So far, there's been no word on possible suspects. Police are asking anyone with information to come forward.
Toronto police are updating an investigation into an alleged case of indignity to a human body in the East End. Police shared new photos of a suspect sought in the incident. On May 27th, investigators say they attended an apartment near Broadview and Dundas and found a deceased person in the unit. They say the person died of natural causes, but this male suspect knew the body was there and didn't notify authorities. Police say the suspect goes by Daniel Joseph or Christie, and if you see him, you are asked to contact police. Police are also looking for this man. They say on Tuesday evening he was spotted exiting a stolen vehicle near Greenwood and Danforth Avenues. Investigators say they arrested a woman he was with at the time, but he got away. 27-year-old Matthew Carter of no fixed address is now wanted for possession of property obtained by crime, 2 counts of breach of probation, and 1 of failed to comply with a release order.
20 people are facing nearly 300 charges as part of an investigation that targeted a street gang in York Region. 18 guns were recovered as part of the 14-month-long operation dubbed Project Lookout. Investigators with York Regional Police and other agencies also recovered more than $2 million worth of drugs, as well as $245,000 in cash, luxury vehicles, and high-end watches. The probe was launched last April and focused on a group accused of being involved in guns and drug trafficking.
We believe that the firearms seized during this investigation were ultimately going to end up in the hands of offenders who are going to use them in shootings, carjackings, and other acts of violence. The cocaine seized during this investigation has been analyzed as well. It was found to be between 89% and 97% pure, which suggests that the arrested suppliers are linked to the highest levels of organized crime, cocaine importers.
Toronto Police, Peel Police, the OPP, and the CBSA were also involved in the operation. The widow of the gunman who killed 2 people in North York earlier this week is speaking out.
She's shedding light on the deadly incident as she tries to understand what led her husband to murder.
He was hugging me, saying that he loved me and he's sorry. for everything.
That was the last time Alyssa Pogorelowski spoke to her husband, Alan Katz, on Monday, before he shot and killed two people they believed were behind an alleged mortgage investment scheme that defrauded their family.
He just couldn't believe that we was scammed for all our money. He was in depression, he couldn't sleep.
54-year-old Arash Misagi and 44-year-old Samira Yousefi were killed Monday afternoon in an office building near Don Mills and York Mills before Katz took his own life. Court documents revealed Katz and Pogorelowski had sued the two victims as well as a number of other companies and individuals after losing $1.28 million to a syndicated mortgage fraud. The statement of claim alleged Misagi is a prolific fraudster. He has been involved in sophisticated fraud involving mortgages and real estate property in Ontario. And that Samira is also an associate of Misagi and in conjunction with Misagi knowingly assisted in carrying out fraud against the plaintiff. Court documents also revealed the couple were contributing to an investment fund by releasing equity from their home. A recent court document on the case ordering Misagi and Yousefi's assets frozen described the scheme as an elaborate ruse to obtain the plaintiff's money.
Just one day, the payment check come back, declined.
Pogorelowski and her husband owned a construction company. She says they received partial payments on their investments but lost their life savings and their home.
It just destroyed me, destroyed my family.
It wasn't until Tuesday that she discovered a note from her husband.
My death is on the hands of Samira Yousefi, Aras Misagi.
Explaining what happened.
Nobody has taken any life away. Nobody has permission to do that. It's very bad. But as I think he was just broken. I think what happened on a Monday, he just go and try to protect his family.
Residents in a Kleinburg neighborhood are mourning the death of a 6-year-old hit by a school bus.
A memorial is growing on the spot where the child was fatally struck. Our Mike Walker is in Kleinburg this afternoon with the latest. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, all morning people have been stopping by this memorial to pay their respects. This is a tight-knit community. They are devastated and at a loss for words while police continue to investigate the circumstances of this tragedy.
A memorial of flowers, teddy bears, and toys continues to grow. A community heartbroken after a 6-year-old boy was struck and killed by a school bus.
We've been living here for a couple years now. I have a 6-year-old niece myself who lives with us as well, and she's always playing in this neighborhood, goes to school near here. So I think it's really heartbreaking to see that someone so young has passed away in such a tragedy that has happened.
The tragedy happened just before 8 yesterday morning in a Vaughan neighborhood not far from the boy's home. The bus came to a stop around 100 meters after the collision. The young child was pronounced dead on the scene.
It was just scary. We were just hoping that it wasn't a death, it wasn't someone so young.
The boy was a grade 1 student at St. Stephen's Catholic Elementary School in Woodbridge. The York Catholic School Board says supports are being provided to staff and students. Parents like Claudio Nunez now trying to find the words to explain to their children what happened.
It's really difficult to have that conversation with them. They don't understand.
He knew the boy's family and says his kids rode the same school bus.
The boy actually sat beside my 2 kids. Very tragic event. It shocked up the whole community, and we're all grieving the pain.
The bus driver remained at the scene. One neighbor said the driver performed CPR on the child. York Regional Police continue to investigate the circumstances that led to this fatal incident and say it's too early to determine whether charges will be laid.
Now, investigators are reappealing for witnesses and anyone with dashcam or security video to come forward to help them with their investigation. The boy's family has asked for privacy. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Nathan, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. In Ottawa, the Senate has approved a foreign interference bill tabled about 7 weeks ago. The government legislation contains criminal provisions and is intended to help deter, investigate, and punish those involved in meddling with our democratic process. It allows for the sharing of sensitive information with businesses and establishes a foreign influence transparency registry that would require certain individuals to register with Ottawa. The bill now awaits royal assent.
The outgoing Dutch Prime Minister is now set to become NATO's next Secretary General. Mark Rutte has been one of the driving forces behind Europe's military support for Ukraine and says defeat for Moscow is vital to secure peace in Europe. His appointment as leader of the alliance is now all but certain after Romania's president withdrew his own candidacy. Rutte already had the backing of the other 31 NATO countries. He will replace Jens Stoltenberg, who steps down in October after nearly a decade as Secretary General.
In central Labrador, hundreds of people have fled the town of Churchill Falls because of a wildfire. The town is home to about 700 people. Today, officials said all residents have been safely evacuated, and the blaze remains on the side of the Churchill River opposite the community. But the forecast is not favorable. Water bombers and helicopters are being used to contain the out-of-control blaze, and the province has asked Ottawa for additional help. Residents were told to go to Happy Valley Goose Bay, 3 hours away. No word yet on when they will be allowed back. And as summer gets underway, Toronto Pearson International Airport says it's ready for a busy season. The Greater Toronto Airport Authority says it's expecting more than 160,000 passengers per day this summer on peak travel days. That's an increase of 8% from 2023. There'll be more than 1,100 flights on the busiest days as well, and that's a 3% year-over-year increase. Officials with the Canadian Air Transport Security Authority and border officials from both Canada and the U.S. advise using available digital tools to plan their airport journeys. Travelers this morning shared their own thoughts.
Try to plan ahead and get here early and then have things just to keep us occupied and just understand that things might change and we just have to roll with it.
Right now, we're excited to go to Banff and Lake Louise because I've been there, but I want to take my wife there and I'm very excited to take my wife and my friends there. Yeah. So I was very excited. We had done all the bookings. So just a little bit sad because of the flight cancellation.
The night before, throw some clothes in the bag, that's it.
While peak summer travel months for Toronto Pearson are July and August, the airport has already seen an uptick in travelers in June, and higher than normal passenger volumes are forecast to continue into September.
WestJet engineers have called off plans for a strike, agreeing to head back to the bargaining table. But there are still customers scrambling from preemptively canceled flights.
We're hoping to get home earlier, and now we won't be getting home till 1 o'clock tomorrow morning.
The union for 670 airline mechanics pulled its strike notice when talks picked up again. They're looking for better pay, benefits, and working conditions. The union rejected WestJet's first offer last week. The airline had canceled about 40 flights in anticipation of a strike. WestJet adds it's working to resume normal operations as quickly as possible. And for more on this, we're joined by CTV's Scott Hurst. Scott, now this is good news. However, I'm sure there's still some concerns for some travelers. What's the latest on contract talks?
Nathan, you were just detailing how busy they're expecting Pearson Airport to be this season during the summer travel season, which of course picks up significantly as many kids are out of school and families are looking to get away for a summer vacation. So no doubt for many of those passengers, this is a huge sigh of relief as they were looking at potential WestJet cancellations, as there already were this week, as you said. But we got the word overnight that the WestJet and the unionized mechanics, that the threat of strike action is off the table for now. Of course, both sides have announced that they will return to the bargaining table. Now, yesterday, WestJet had began canceling a few dozen flights, and that already affected several thousand passengers. But as you said, some 670 airport maintenance engineers were set to walk off the job, and that was ready to start as early as tonight. Some of the main sticking issues in the contract negotiations include pay, benefits, and working conditions, and they overwhelmingly rejected a tentative offer last week. Now, the two sides are agreeing to go back to the bargaining table. WestJet had requested the Canada Industrial Relations Board to intervene, a move that was opposed by the union. And in a latest statement from the airline, it says the CIRB would need more time before making a decision whether arbitration is the best way to reach a collective bargaining agreement, Nathan.
All right, good to hear. CTV's Scott Hurst on the WestJet strike that's been averted for now.
Conservationists are celebrating the recovery of a once endangered species. The Iberian lynx was on the brink of extinction just over 2 decades ago, but as of today, it is no longer endangered. Successful conservation efforts mean the animal is now barely a vulnerable species. The pointy-eared wildcat is native to Spain and Portugal, and its disappearance was closely linked to that of its main prey, the European rabbit, as well as habitat degradation and human activity. The latest census shows there are more than 2,000 Iberian lynxes.
Another day with heat, no real surprise there, but we are watching once again for afternoon showers along with the risk of thunderstorms. All this heat and humidity combined with a passing cold front, the perfect recipe for some active weather. So keep that in mind if you have any outdoor plans in the second half of the day. 32 feeling like 40, and the UV index once again very high. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long range forecast, including breaking down the chance of rain, what we can expect as we make our way through the longest day of the year.
The first day of summer has arrived, and nature is on point today. I mean, it feels like summer. It's been feeling like summer. It's exciting, and I always feel like at this time of year we need to just pause because it's going to go so fast.
Yeah,
the next 2
right.
months, 3 months are going to fly by.
You're so right. That's kind of why I liked having sort of this early start to summer, because I know it doesn't last long. So take advantage of it.
Honest, and it feels like we have such a short summer season every single year, but we are really holding on to a beautiful start to the summer season. The most daylight today, the sunset tonight at 9:02 p.m., and we're going to enjoy hopefully all of it, well, most of it. We do have some active weather on the way this afternoon as all this heat and humidity breeds some thunderstorms. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers you don't pay unless they win. And we've seen some sunshine out there after a bit of a stormy night for many, causing a little bit of damage in and around the city. These heavy downbursts, they come fast, they come furious, and they can cause a significant amount of damage because of all of that wind. But calm for now, humid out there as well. When the sun peeks out from all that cloud cover, it's hot. Taking a look at our maps today, again, we had that sunrise today at 5:36 a.m. Officially, summer begins at 4:50 p.m., but I feel like it really began over a couple of days ago, probably on Monday. Temperature-wise, we're still really warm. It's 30. It feels like 37. We're starting to see, though, the northern communities start to taper off a little bit, so that bit of a dome that's over us is getting smaller and smaller. Into the afternoon, 32, feeling like 40. The same really right across the board. We're still in that low 30 range, and that really doesn't change until some of this heat breaks later on today and really predominantly into tomorrow. Still warm this evening. We see that kind of line of showers that will come through afternoon, evening, and then overnight we don't lose the heat just yet. We're still into the 20s. We are watching the kind of tail end of a cold front that will push some of those end of day showers once again today and then get into the day tomorrow with a little bit of relief. So timing everything out, again, we get through the majority of the lunch hour, not too bad. In and around 3 o'clock, we have a line of showers. There's that line, that cold front that will push its way through. It sticks around 4:30. We could see some pretty significant thunderstorm activity. And then as we head into the early evening, and the bulk of it is gone. So this is kind of a mid to late afternoon situation. And then overnight, just some cloud cover. Into the day tomorrow, some cloud to start. We'll see peaks of sun into the afternoon, and then the chance of pop-up showers once again returns into the evening and carries us into the start of the weekend. Heading into Saturday, we're looking at the likelihood of some pop-up showers off and on starting kind of midday. We're still holding on to a lot of that heat, but as we push in towards the weekend, we will return to more seasonal weather. We don't quite get to seasonal until the beginning of next week. Temperature-wise, as we welcome in the summer solstice today, it is hot, no surprise. Still hot tomorrow, but we drop out of heat warning criteria. Your Saturday and Sunday, again, a little unsettled but cooler. But really, it's not until we get in towards the beginning of next week that we see more seasonal summer weather. Nathan, I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess. It's a big day in men's soccer with some great matches. In Euro 2024, Italy and Spain play this afternoon at 3, and Canada's men's soccer team will play in the Copa America competition with a match against Argentina tonight. And TSN's Bardown's Corwin McCallum joins us now with more on this. This is a huge day. I mean, I'm sure some people took the whole day off just to watch soccer. I mean, let's start off with Canada versus Argentina at Copa. This is not going to be easy facing the defending world champs. What is Canada hoping to achieve?
I think they want a result. I think you look at their most recent game against France, who is a team that's really considered as one of the favorites of the Euro competition right now. And I think you go in here with some confidence, and obviously they've got some world-class players on this Canada team that you hope you can do something, and whether that's a draw, a victory. Victory is definitely a little more ambitious, but hey, if they can scrape something out here, that's a massive success early on in the tournament that really could set the stage for the rest of it.
And how do you defend Messi?
You don't. I mean, that's Messi right there. I think you put a couple guys on him and you hope for the best. I think realistically they're going to have to limit some of the damage that comes from elsewhere on the Argentina team too. They've obviously got a lot of dangerous players, Enzo Fernandez and Angel Di Maria, and they've just, even Julian Alvarez. There's a whole squad of dangerous players there, and Messi's probably the most unstoppable one, probably in history, right? But so I think you just kind of double up whenever you can, try to prevent the ball getting to him, and then do your best.
And which Canadians are you hoping have a really big game?
I think the ones I'm really looking towards is the midfield. Obviously, I think you look at guys like Alphonso Davies or Jonathan David as kind of these star players on the team that you're hoping can really make the difference. But one guy that's really emerged recently as a potential bright spot in this tournament is Ismail Kone, who has been playing for Watford out in the English championship level. And he has just put in some incredible performances lately. He's a really smooth player in the midfield that can turn a couple guys very easily. He's got great footwork, and he's still a young guy, so he could really become a leader on this team if he's able to take a step forward in this tournament, and especially at a level like against Argentina.
And making Alphonso Davies the captain, does that make a difference?
I don't know if it makes a difference. I've never been a big captain guy myself, but I mean, obviously, I think it means something to the players, and to give him that vote of confidence, I think is nice from a new coach in Jesse Marsch. And I think maybe that gives him something different going into this tournament. Obviously, the last kind of big tournament they have, he did score Canada's only goal that they were credited for. They got an own goal in there too, but he had a solid tournament last time, and I think you're hoping for maybe again another step up from him. And let's see.
All right, so that game will be on TSN tonight at 7. Now to Euro 2024, Spain versus Italy. This is a big matchup. You've got the defending champions. Yeah. Does Italy have something to prove?
I think so. Obviously, of course, they have had this up and down thing, and I feel like Italy's always got something to prove. You know, they've got a very, very loud and passionate fan base, which I think we love, and that's part of the reason why people get so into tournaments like these. And I think, you know, they're going to want to go out here and get a win. I think Spain made a pretty dominant statement in their first game against Croatia with that 3-0 win. And they've got some really talented young players that I think people are kind of looking to them as like, oh, can they kind of take the next step into their history of being such a great soccer nation? And I think Italy has something to prove in terms of like, nobody really considers them a favorite in this tournament, but hey, they were champions last time and they can be champions again.
Yeah, this might be the best game so far. So who do you think is going to win this game?
Oof. I'm going Spain. Again, I just said Italy's got something to prove, and this is wise because people are picking against them. But I think with Yamal and Nico Williams, and Spain has some really dangerous forwards that are young, quick, and can really hurt you, especially on the counter. So there's been a lot of turnover in this Italy team. I've yet to see as dangerous of forwards from their side. I think Federico Chiesa is like a great player, but around him, I'll be interested to see how it goes. So I'm taking Spain in this one.
All right, we'll see what happens. You can catch all the action on TSN. TSN Bar Down's Corbin McCallum, thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
And again, you can catch all the action today on TSN starting at noon, continuing until about 7 tonight.
Now to another form of competition, the box office. And it may be hard to beat what became known as the Summer of Barbenheimer last year, pushing moviegoers back into theaters.
But a sluggish start this year has some wondering how much longer the popcorn will keep popping. CTV's Allison Bamford on The Big Picture.
Closer I am to find. A movie moment that doesn't come around very often. Barbenheimer taking over last summer's box office.
That was kind of a once, maybe not in a generation, but once every few years phenomenon.
This summer, a slower start to what's typically a busy movie season. Expected hits The Fall Guy and Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, underperformed at the box office. But there are signs the momentum is shifting.
Coming to you live in Riley's Mind.
Inside Out 2 earned an estimated $155 million in its opening weekend, the highest since Barbie last July.
If you give people movies that they want to see, they'll go to the movie theaters. People are still wanting to be entertained in kind of an old-fashioned way.
An old-fashioned experience many still prefer over watching movies at home.
We cried and cried together. We didn't know it would have such a depth of feeling, this movie. That's something you share, you know, when you're out, not when you're at home.
Summer screenings account for about 40% of box office sales, but earlier this month, yearly ticket sales were down 26%. A trend independent movie theaters like this one fear could force them to close, according to its owner, a possibility some moviegoers can understand.
I think that for many people it's more convenient to watch at home.
And while fewer movies are coming to theaters this summer because of last year's writers and actors strikes halting production, experts say upcoming films like Marvel's Deadpool and Wolverine and the disaster film Twisters should hopefully turn things around.
We'll look back and say, it was a slow start, but we ended up doing pretty well.
A new emotion.
Allison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Rapper Travis Scott has been arrested for trespassing and disorderly intoxication. The rapper was booked this morning into a county jail in Miami, and records show a $650,000 bond has been submitted for his release. Police say Scott was on a charter boat and was involved in a dispute. When he was asked to leave the area, he refused, leading to his arrest. Representatives for Scott haven't commented yet.
There's an update on the health of legendary actor Ian McKellen. The 85-year-old had been performing in a Shakespearean production on London's West End when he fell from the stage on Monday night. A statement from the theater says McKellen will now sit out the final 3 performances of the show while he recuperates. It also says McKellen intends to return when the show launches a UK national tour in a few weeks' time.
Ariana Grande is sharing her side of the story after a clip went viral of her changing her speaking voice mid-conversation.
That's how I felt. I was like, what has happened? Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I've been writing a lot. Maybe there's some more.
You might have noticed the switch up there as the vocalist and performer spoke on the podcast Pod Crush. People have been questioning exactly why she did that. Well, she popped into the comments on TikTok to say she sometimes talks in a higher register to help rest her vocal cords, and she's always done so.
Please, 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 don't bring me to tears when
And Sabrina Carpenter has set a North American headlining tour in support of her upcoming new album. The 29-city tour starts September 23rd in Columbus, Ohio, and it will come to Toronto just a few days later, with Carpenter playing Scotiabank Arena September 25th. Ticket pre-sales start next week.
How a simple pair of socks can make all the difference for your health. A mobile clinic in the city is outlining why people should look after their feet.
For many of us, a fresh pair of socks and overall foot health are something we take for granted.
But a mobile health clinic in downtown Toronto says it's actually an important part of healthcare. Here's CTV's Pauline Chan with the story.
It's a welcome stop by this mobile health clinic, and it brings free socks and more to those in need.
That we give out that are quite popular are underwears, as well as socks and other hygiene products.
Foot care is quite important, especially for people living with diabetes. Unfortunately, diabetes has become a worldwide epidemic.
Chiropodist Nicola Bartley says diabetes is common and often not well managed among their clientele.
The cost is supposed to surpass cancer care, and associated with that is lower limb amputations. So unfortunately, a lot of times, due to poor circulation or, neuropathy where people can't feel their feet. They end up with sores that don't heal, and then that becomes an amputation. Many times people have never even had their feet checked. A lot of people either cannot bend to see their feet, or they have issues with their eyes because of diabetes, or sometimes they have so many other issues such as housing, transportation, accessing food, that their feet are the last thing that they think about.
The mobile health unit provides primary care as well as harm reduction services.
The main clientele for our mobile clinic are our homeless and marginalized clients in the Toronto area in Parkdale, as well as our seniors clientele as well.
And increasingly, nurse practitioner Ray Makaraeg says people who do not have a family doctor also come to the truck.
One of the barriers to getting primary care is transportation. So let's get rid of that barrier and go to the clients. Since January 2021, we've actually increased our access to our marginalized clientele to the point where this mobile health clinic has provided services up to 9,100 encounters.
The mobile health clinic keeps a series of regular stops around Parkdale so clients know when and where to find them. It's equipped for basic diagnostics, and staff can quickly refer patients for additional tests. It can even stock vaccines if booked ahead of time. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Seniors in Toronto had higher rates of death due to respiratory causes on extremely hot days. That's according to a new report from Statistics Canada showing deaths in the country's 12 most populous cities go up on days when there's extreme heat. The study, looking at 2 decades of mortality data, says people aged 65 and older are the hardest hit.
With high temperatures, what's also in demand is ice.
And there's maybe no better place to work during a heat wave than the factory that makes it. CTV's Dylan Dyson has this report.
It's scorching outside, but you'd never know it inside this workplace.
Oh, for sure. It's we keep the inside of the manufacturing part of the plant about 12 degrees. If you're in the walk-in, it's minus 25 Celsius.
I've been known to go hide in the freezer once in a while, yeah.
At Pontiac Ice in Shawville, they make the most desired ice in the Ottawa Valley.
We make about 18 tons of ice a day. On our blocks, we use a food-grade glycol, and that brings the temperature down quick and hard and fast.
We get about 300 pounds of ice cold every 20 minutes.
In a cooler, Pontiac Ice says their ice lasts longer than any other ice out there.
A block will last 3 to 4 days. A bag of cubes will last 2 or 3 days.
And in this weather, this ice is in high demand.
I had a couple of emergency calls where 4 or 5 of my customers were ready to dry with ice, and they were just filled up on Monday.
With this week's heat wave and more than 200 locations selling Pontiac Ice throughout the Ottawa Valley, the company says business is up 80% within the last few days.
It's like going crazy for the moment, 100, 200 bags.
At this job, it's out of the frying pan and into the freezer.
Honestly, it's nice to get to stay out of the heat and make an ice, keep the hands cold, keep the face cold.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News, Shawville.
The federal government is hoping to launch a national pharmacare program by April 1st of next year. The bill has made its way through the House of Commons, but still needs to be studied by the Senate. The health minister can begin negotiating deals with provinces and territories to administer the program once the legislation receives royal assent. It would make birth control and diabetes medication available to anyone in Canada with a health card. $1.5 billion has been budgeted for the program over 5 years. Still to come, U.S. stocks hit another record high with shares rising in early trading this morning. Details on the rest of your business headlines coming up.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Canadian shares rose in early trading today.
Meantime, south of the border, U.S. stocks have hit another record high. B&M Bloomberg's Andrew Bell has more.
Hello there. Here are your business headlines. Canadian and U.S. shares rose in early trading, with Toronto lifted by higher mining stocks and the U.S. market hitting yet another record high. Oil topped $82 U.S. a barrel after U.S. government data showed declining stockpiles. This could be bad news for the lumber industry. New U.S. home construction has plunged to the slowest pace since June of 2020. Dragged down by higher for longer interest rates. Housing starts dropped almost 6% to an annualized rate of 1.28 million last month. Building permits also hit the weakest since 2020. And still on real estate, Canadian home buyers are increasingly opting for variable rate mortgages in hopes of more interest rate cuts. The share of borrowers opting for mortgages that track the Bank of Canada's benchmark rate rose to almost 13% in the first quarter, although that's still well below the level seen in the pandemic, when such floating rate loans briefly became the majority of the market. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
The majority of Canadian renters say they have no plans to purchase a home in the next 2 years. That's according to a new survey from Royal LePage. The real estate company says 27% of renters are planning to enter the market, and that jumps to 40% when asking renters aged 18 to 34. But 69% say a home purchase isn't likely for them in the near term. 54% of the 1,500 respondents said they didn't view their income as sufficient to afford a desirable property. Royal LePage said finding the capital for down payment stands as the greatest barrier to buying a home.
Many people use websites like Craigslist, Kijiji, and Facebook Marketplace to buy and sell used items, but occasionally you can find a bargain.
But accepting payment for things you sell can sometimes be tricky, especially in a time when you have to be careful you don't get scammed. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
It looked very legitimate. It caught me off guard.
Amanda Mazzata Sosa of Toronto was selling a diaper genie she no longer needed and put it on Facebook Marketplace.
I was selling a baby item. I just had a baby 8 months ago, so I had a couple of duplicates from my baby shower.
Not long after, someone contacted her to say they would buy it for $40 and send her an e-transfer.
I'd be happy to send you a deposit. So I said, okay, great. I'll send me the deposit and I'll hold the item for you.
Amanda received what looked like an e-transfer link and clicked on it.
I punched in my card number and my password and I pressed sign in. As soon as I pressed sign in, it redirected me to another page.
But after she did that, the website kept refreshing over and over again, and eventually the payment did not go through. Later, she noticed someone hacked into her accounts and had stolen $6,000.
So right away, I logged into my account and I noticed that he completely wiped out my money, like took everything. He left nothing in my daughter's account, who's 8 months old.
These scammers, again, are getting more sophisticated, and especially now with AI.
The Better Business Bureau says criminals are manipulating links in text to take you to fraudulent websites that look real, and then they steal your information.
It took her to a website that looked like her bank. So she didn't question it. And as I said, these scammers are getting sophisticated, and they know what those websites look like.
Luckily, when Amanda complained to her bank, they agreed it was fraud and refunded her money.
I got my money back, thank goodness.
But she wanted to warn others to be careful accepting e-transfers from strangers.
We're just out here trying to help other moms, and I just want everyone to be aware of what happened to me so it doesn't happen to them.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Some TTC riders may be facing challenges paying their fares with credit and debit cards today. The TTC released a statement at around 7:30 this morning saying some fare gates aren't opening when customers tap payment cards. At the time, it said the issue appeared to be network related, but it now says it has ruled out that possibility. The TTC says the investigation is ongoing and it's not clear how widespread the issue is.
The city is gearing up for one of its biggest culinary events of the year, Summerlicious. And the annual event and its winter equivalent see more than 200 restaurants across our city offering special fixed price meals for lunch and dinner. The city says Summerlicious this year takes place from Friday, July 5th to Sunday, July 21st, giving foodies some time to check out menus. You can start making reservations today.
The Blue Jays wrapped up their series with the Boston Red Sox last night.
Down to first, and Guerrero mishandles it.
It was a tough game for the Jays in the field as they committed 4 errors. The Red Sox ended up winning the game 7-3. The Jays have today off before beginning a series in Cleveland tomorrow.
Around the corner, and he does. Boyd into the penalty area, drives it across. Surridge flicks it past, and now Nashville has the lead, 2-1 in the 90th minute. Surge with a brace on the night.
And Toronto FC was in action last night against Nashville. Nashville scored in the 90th minute, going on to win the game 2-1. TFC will be back on the pitch Saturday to take on the New York Red Bulls.
Scientists have discovered what is believed to be the world's oldest wine. Talk about vintage. This 2,000-year-old urn was found in a sealed and untouched tomb near a family home in Carmona, Spain, just outside Seville. The wine has aged to a reddish-brown color and has been remarkably well preserved. It's described as a sherry-like wine. Would you try it if you could? I'd be curious to give it a sniff,
just a little
taste.
Old. 2,000 years. What's in there?
I don't know. And their preservation techniques back then, I don't know, questionable. But it looks, I mean, it hasn't, by the look of it, hasn't spoiled completely.
I'll let someone else try it first, and then I'll try it. But a day like today, any chilled beverage, a good idea. It's obviously super hot outside. That really hasn't changed. The record continues to play, but we will see a bit of a change heading into the day tomorrow. Still warm, but we are out of heat warning criteria. For now, we're holding on to a little cloud cover out there. Some sun will peek its way out, but we're watching for the likelihood of some pop-up showers and thunderstorms heading in to the afternoon and evening. We're at 30. It feels like 37. Everybody's still holding on to all that heat and humidity. But as we step into the weekend, it gets cooler.
All right. Thank you, Jess. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Take care.